delete your files and leave. So I have a friend Ted who 67 years ago was 64 and considering retirement. Ted worked in health analytics for a large metro health organization. He would look at patient data and see ways to improve patient outcomes and gain funding. Each month he would email to the relevant department heads data and links for government grants or funding applications. 12 months prior to this, Ted got a new boss, Sally, who didn't appreciate what Ted did. Sally pretty much ignored Ted except for a simple instruction that all data and reports go to her and no one else. She would deal with it. The organization declares a restructure with lots of jobs losses. They are extremely determined to get this through. Ted is to be redundant. In a meeting, Sally tells Ted his work is useless and he is of no use to the organization. She says she hasn't opened one of his email reports in 12 months and that clearly shows he doesn't matter to the organization. In 3 months he will be redundant and receive a handsome package. Over a year's pay. Sally was pretty rude to Ted and asked her to leave. It is decided that Sally will longer deal with Ted. The union was putting a decent fight and slowing down the restructure. Ted makes the offer to that he will not fight the redundancy if they pay him 3 months sick leave and after that his redundancy. They agree but insist that he does a full data clean for patient confidentiality reasons in the next 2 days and then his sick leave starts. Cue malicious compliance. Ted backs up a copy then rings IT who delete every file. All on his hard drive and not on a server. He was not so tech savvy and physically destroy his hard drive. He also asks them also to search through any unopened emails he had sent and delete them off the server. IT wipe every last trace of Ted from the system. Ted gave the copy of his data to the internal auditors on his last day. On Ted's last day he also discovered that Sally didn't know he was going on sick leave the next day. She rings with a sweet as pie voice saying, "Hey Ted, I need to look at those numbers you sent me as I can't find them. The auditors say we are 2.2 million short of funding this year and you might be able to help out." Ted replies, "Sure, but ring me tomorrow." Ted leaves and retires happily ever after. Sally apparently could not find Ted's data in the coming weeks. Ted ignored her calls as he was on sick leave. The internal auditors investigated and found that Sally had cost the organization over $2.5 million in funding. At the same time, complaints came from department heads about Ted's redundancy. Someone forwarded Ted an email a couple months later from the CEO stating, after a brief conversation with Sally, she has decided to look for other opportunities. "I've seen the end result of one too many." Sally's knew a programmer who was instrumental in an organization's biannual reporting. In his case, Sally couldn't figure out what he was doing for over a year and worked to have his services terminated. About 6 months later, when the reporting was required, no one in their organization knew how to do it. They were offering about $200,000 United States dollars, late 1990s, to get someone to generate and certify their numbers. But they had a window of about 10 days to get it done. Especially with that type of money and the requirement to have it certified. No one was touching it. Too little time and too much liability. They missed their time frame. They lost over 60% of their revenue immediately. Company went under shortly after. Seems Sally didn't know contracting with government agencies often have unique requirements. I always wonder how these people manage to get in these positions. The only explanation I can think of is being friends with higher-ups. But that can't always be the case. Our new director appears to be like Sally. He talks the talk, but only bamboozled the people that don't know what he's talking about. It's actually fun to ask him questions to see how much BS he can muster up to sound like he knows what he's talking about. If you don't know what somebody's job is, it's a really good idea to leave them the hell alone. I mean, if you're a supervisor and don't understand the jobs of the people you're supervising, then you either got there by idiotic management, or because you know somebody. Either way, the last thing you should be doing is eliminating positions on the basis that you don't understand what they do or how they work. Just like you shouldn't have to be an electrician to know that you shouldn't go around cutting random wires in your home simply because you don't know what that particular wire does. God, I wish they'd offer me even a 6-month package to retire. I'd leave behind a puff of smoke like the Roadrunner and spend my days chuckling thereafter. Our place didn't wipe PCs no matter who said to do it. When someone left, IT collected their PC, tagged it with the date and name of the user, and put it in a closet. After 3 months, they would wipe it after making a backup of the hard drive. There was at least a dozen times someone was eternally grateful some retiree's PC had not been wiped yet. At most companies, this is the most vulnerable part of their intellectual property when someone leaves. People see outputs but have little idea how they were done. You get someone who can do Excel macros like a pro and everyone loves their outputs. But nobody knows how they were done and they can't recreate them. This story makes me priapic. Well done, Ted. A brief conversation. It doesn't take long to say, "You're fired." Lol. She didn't do part of her job for 12 months and used that as evidence that he wasn't needed. Man, that's so inspirational and iconic to line up a MC that brutal right before you skip off into retirement. Ted the GOAT said it was Sally the whole time who was redundant. Well done. This deserves to be cross-posted in one of the revenge subs. Wouldn't medical regulations mean they have to retain this data for 6 years, as opposed to directly instructing someone to destroy it? This is beautiful. Good job, Ted. He is my hero. Why did he back up the data though? Happy retirement for Ted. Absolutely fabulous. There is some Sally S, or as we call them Karen S, in most organizations, and they do not care until they get their own ankles bitten off. Hopefully Ted got a nice fat consultancy contract to fix some things. So many of these stories are called the law of unintended consequences. But actually it's law of completely foreseeable consequences that nobody bothered to care for. Single quote. You are supposed to understand the ramifications of your decisions. All the ramifications. Not just the ones you want. I worked at a small mom-and-pop repair PC shop. The place was able to grow a lot when I entered. Thanks to my work, I was seeing 45 clients a day and fixing computers. But as time went, I started doing networking things, managing domain servers, really a lot of things. We had maintenance contracts with a lot of business. 45 years later, more than 20 business depended on us. I was tired of seeing my boss go to Cancun, and with luck I reached the end of the month with my salary that I had to fight every 23 months. Argentina and its inflation. I gave the 1-month notice as required by our law. He was worried, but took my decision well. Within a week, he had hired 3 new employees for me to train in everything that had to be done in all the companies that depended on us. Me. For support, I did the bare minimum in the time left. I had 0.15 days after I had notified him that I was leaving. There were another 15 days to go, and my resignation would be effective. My boss calls me to talk. He offers me to double my salary and more benefits, like working fewer hours, with a smirk on my face. I said thank you very much, but that I was very sure that I wanted to work independently. At the end of the month I left. In 2 months I was able to duplicate my income, working half the time. Of the 20 companies we maintained, approximately 10 canceled the support contract 2 months later due to incompetence of the people who sent the company I worked for. Many of these companies even looked for me on social networks to try to contact me and get me to work for them directly, which I did not do, for ethical reasons. 6 months later, my ex-boss went out of business, had to close, and now he sells candles.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.